So how are
Yeah.
you?
Welcome to Holistic Kid Show. My name is Zane.
My name's Abdullah.
My name's Imad.
We're the Holistic Kids here judging for us kids from the inside out. Holidays, times of sadness, times of joy. What do they all have in common? Sugar.
Good for you.
Studies found in 2017 and 2018 the average daily intake of added sugars was 17 teaspoons for children and young adults aged 2 to 19 years. And that was before the pandemic.
Right.
Well, that is 3 times more than the new recommendations. And that was before the pandemic. I can't imagine what it is now.
Mm.
Why is that so bad?
Well, today we have the perfect guest to help us with just that. Michael Collins is a former sugar addict and takes his this addiction very seriously. And now he has one of the best summits all around sugar, where he interviews the biggest names around sugar and its effects.
Mm. Yes, 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 yes.
He also has a summit coming up all about sugar and kids called the Sugar Free Kids Summit. This is a must attend event.
Must.
So, why are you so passionate about sugar and sugar effects on kids? We would love to know your story.
Thanks, guys. A pleasure to meet you all. Excited to talk to you. Um, so many years ago, I was trying to get healthy, and I read a book, and somehow it just stuck. And I was really interested in it was talking about not having sugar. And it was a long, long time ago. And well, it took me a while to get off sugar and to study it a little bit more. And then I ended up meeting a woman, getting married, and we had twins, actually. We had 2 kids. And I talked her into not having any sugar while she was pregnant. And then the kids didn't have any sugar till they were 6 years old. And they were at a birthday party. We were at a birthday party at a roller skating rink. And we ended up having, letting them have sugar that one time. And then while they were children, they never really had sugar in the house, at our house, but they had it at outside birthday parties. But that first few years literally programmed their brain, their neuroplasticity in their brain, so they didn't have any. They weren't really drawn to sugar like I was when I was a kid. And when I was a kid, I mean, we would put all kinds of sugar on our Cheerios and our cornflakes and be scraping up sugar at the bottom of the bowl. It was crazy. And we had all kind of snacks and Kool-Aid, and it was wild, really. And my kids never experienced that. So I think as a result, they grew up, they did very well in school, went to the International Baccalaureate program, Notre Dame, did really well on their college exams and stuff. Because I think, if you study the science and on the study of the summit, when you see the summit, that your mom's on, that literally the brain developed better. It was because there's a lot of science now, a lot of studies, peer-reviewed studies that says when anyone, let alone kids, ingest sugar, it blocks their clarity, their memory, and even the studies they've done in schools where kids get a big sugary breakfast and then they try and do tests, their test scores are down, right? And so I don't know. I just kept thinking about it. The kids always said I should write a book. And so I wrote a book about sugar and then had a website as well. And so it's been a long time now, about 5 or 7 years, 6 or 7 years now, that I've been helping people, coaching people. And we did, as your mom said, we have a big summit for adults, but this is our first one for kids. So that, like, it's actually for the parents of the kids, so they can help them understand, really in simple terms, that just because all the other kids are doing it and there's a lot of it doesn't mean that sugar is good for you. It's like, you guys are a little young for this, but during when the science started coming out around smoking and seat belts, people thought they didn't need to quit smoking and they didn't need to start wearing seat belts. But science kept proving that yes, you need to quit smoking and you need to wear seat belts. Same thing is happening now with the scientists and sugar. So it's been an interesting ride. And like I said, my kids were sugar-free kids. So just trying to spread the message out there, and really happy to be on with you guys, because you're the right age group of the kids that, and I know your mom has already kind of talked to you about all this stuff, but yeah, super excited to be here and talk with you guys.
Well, it's our pleasure.
Our pleasure.
Thank you guys. Thank
And
you.
my pleasure.
Yeah. What other questions can I answer for you?
Kids are eating healthy for breakfast. Kids are eating sugar for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, snack, and holiday. Sugar is in the most packaged foods. What are we eating more sugar now than ever?
Now, that's a really good question. So what happened it happened about 1980s, 1980, in the 80s. High fructose corn syrup got developed and started to make its way into the food system. Back then, when I was younger, like right now, 84% of the things in boxes, bags, cans, bottles, even ketchup, for goodness sakes, has sugar in it. It was ridiculous. It is still ridiculous. And you can see as high fructose corn syrup got into the candy and the sodas, it started to fall into this because they were lowering fat. They thought that was a good idea. They were lowering fat. They were increasing sugar. So the obesity numbers, both in children and adults, have gone up since that time. That's about, what, 40, 50 years ago? And it's just never stopped. And now 85% plus of the foods in the grocery store have added sugar. When, like I said, back then, only about 20% had. And so it's been an amazing ride, amazing growth. And I don't blame the manufacturers, but it was still kind of how shall I say, a fluke of business, a fluke of nature. And now we are saddled with these, sadly, obese children and obese adults, simply because of this change in the food system. And now a lot of the products have sugar in it. Not a good thing. So good question.
So to clarify, why sugar is bad for us, and why is it so bad for us kids?
Because sugar cane sugar, right? That's like an entire plant. It's been around for years and centuries, and it's a plant that's been growing on Earth for a while. So people have had sugar for a long time. So why now is it really presumed bad?
Yeah, no, really, it's a good point of view. I want to tell you that heroin comes from a poppy plant, and
Oh,
cocaine comes from coca leaves. It's not so much the plant itself; it's the processing down to a drug. Okay, meaning it turns into a white powder, right? And before, the science wasn't exploring that, right? Sugar is really bad for you scientifically, for the body, and just for you guys and for the audience. Table sugar, is half glucose and half fructose. The molecule has one of each. Okay, so there's 50-50. And what happened over the years is we started to discover the body really was affected. Your blood sugar, the amount of sugar in your blood, was really affected by the glucose half of the molecule. In other words, the diabetes 2 and fatty liver and obesity, weight gain, and all that came from the glucose. But over the last 10 or 12 years, what's really come to the forefront, like in the science, is the fructose. And the fructose literally can only be processed in the liver. So it gives us fatty liver. And now we have an epidemic of 5-year-olds who have fatty liver. And now, this was traditionally an alcoholic's disease. It was only in adults that drank too much alcohol. Well, now, like I said, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds have fatty liver because they're eating so much sugar, and the sugar can only be processed in the liver. Plus, the fructose really does affect It's called the nucleus accumbens, and that's that front part of the brain, the frontal part of the brain where where you learn stuff and your languages and all that and remember stuff. And so the fructose is really affecting that. And there's something called dopamine receptors, and the dopamine receptors have been down regulated. And that means there's less of them. They've been thinned out. And so what happens is, and all of the other drug brain reward chemicals are affected: serotonin, GABA, your adrenal glands, your endorphins, a lot of the important stuff are all affected. And it really has, as many as we talked about before, lowered test scores. They theorize that it's causing Alzheimer's. So it's really, now we understand that the sugar is affecting the brain, right? So yeah, there's a lot to it, a lot to the science, and but those are the main reasons why it's so bad for your body.
So even though if it's so bad for our body, then why did it say like fruits, right? Fruits have sugar. Even
Yes.
vegetables have sugar. Honey has sugar. Maple syrup has sugar. What are your thoughts about that then?
Yeah, no, good question. Look, and this is what I've talked about in the last 10 or 12 years. The science around fructose, the fructose half of the molecule, is the one that makes it sweet. Okay, that makes honey sweet, or fruit, or whatever, agave. It makes those things sweet. And over the years, and you guys know this, probably, like back in when I was, even when I was younger, but 100 years ago, the only fruit we got was very small. It was a crab apple or a little old blueberry. You've seen them out in the wild when you're out in the woods and stuff. Well, now through hybridization, meaning like management, well, let's look at seedless grapes and seedless oranges. Most things come from a seed, right? You have to put the seed in, plant, and it grows. Well, if you're seedless, you have to be spliced. In other words, you have to splice it on to the other root or branch so that it can grow. So it's been a created product almost. And what is it? What are they trying to create? Something as big and beautiful and sweet as they possibly can. So now you have seedless oranges, seedless grapes, and other seedless things. Back in the day, guys, a banana you couldn't even eat it because there were so many seeds in it. So it's been hybridized. It's been manufactured, if you will, by man over time. Now, it didn't take a while to get there, but it did get there. And eventually now we have the bananas that we have. And here's the main point of all that. The fructose molecule, and you guys are studying molecules in school,
Yeah.
the fructose molecule is the same in those fruits as it is in the chocolate bar or the Coke, okay? And so that's where this kind of falls apart, this argument that fruit is better for you when you're trying to quit sugar. It's still going to activate those things that I told you, the dopamine in your brain, but it's going to keep the cravings for real sugar and soda and chocolate and everything alive. So again, yes, you can eat some fruit, but when you're trying to quit or get off sugar, it's best to lower that amount so that you don't have the cravings for the other stuff. That's the main thing.
So most of us kids are addicted to sugar. What is the best way to wean off?
Well, let me ask you this, guys. I'll answer the question, but do you guys feel attracted to sugar? Do you guys?
No.
No, you don't have it? That's good.
No.
Good for you. And you're right. Most kids are, once they experience sugar, it's not that, honest, this is the weirdest part, guys. Once they get a little sweet, anybody, not even just kids, but they get the taste on their tongue, people think that they're craving that taste again. But what they're really craving is a hit of this brain reward chemical that makes us feel a little bit better, right? Now, this brain reward chemical got developed over like millions of years so that we could have food. It would help us find food, right? Because we would remember, because we would get a good feeling about the food. Well, now we can just have candy and get that really nice feeling. And you don't really recognize it especially when you're younger, you don't recognize that, and you don't put the two and two together, that the sugar is actually causing you to feel a little bit better, just a little elevation in your mood, just a little bit, you feel a little happier, you feel a little bit less worried or anxious or anything. And that's the scary part for people, because they're not thinking about it consciously, because there's sugar everywhere. You can always get some. And so some people become a little dependent upon it, right? Um, so, the best way to get off it, I think, or what, yeah, the best way to wean off of it really is to just, like, a lot of people ask this question, it's an important question. Do you quit cold turkey, or do you kind of cut back a little bit, right? Just like a little bit less, a little bit less, a little bit less. And what happens, I think, most people got a cold turkey. They got to cut it right off. And so it's hard to wean off. Even a little bit will create the same kind of cravings. And you don't want the cravings for sugar if you've quit it. You know what I mean? You don't want to be thinking about it. You don't want to be wanting to go to the store or go to the cupboard or the ice box or whatever. So yeah, it's kids. It's almost like, I don't really like to say kids are addicted, but they are. It's kind of sad that kids, like you've seen it, guys, in the grocery store, where there'll be a little child in the cart, and literally he's tipping the cart over, trying to get at the candy on the thing, and he's like, literally, the whole cart is moving because he's trying to get to that candy. That's because he doesn't, like, he's not even verbal. He can't even talk, or she. And you see this in the grocery store, and the poor baby's crying to get to the candy. That's just a sign of addiction. That's a sign that it's just really hard for them to quit. So yeah, it's a tough problem once the babies and the kids have had the sugar in their life.
So you talk a lot about quitting sugar.
Yeah.
Why would you want to quit sugar? I mean, like, it's just sugar, right?
It's like, you guys are very young and you've developed the same thought process as adults. And people think that because you can give sugar to a baby, a 1-year-old, then nobody will really, you're not going to get arrested. It's not against the law. Everybody does it, that we should, like, that would be okay. And that it is, quote unquote, just sugar. But now, like I said earlier, the science has proven that it's not just sugar, quote unquote. It was almost like an evolutionary wrong turn back in a couple hundred years ago, where business started understanding that they could sell sugar to people. And then over the 100 years or more, it came into the society as birthdays, weddings, every celebration from birth to death has sugar in it, right? And so I think that's not just sugar anymore, and that's been proven by science. So it's a hard one. It's a good question, though.
But like, why would you want to get off sugar? What does sugar do to you anyway? What is it like? How does it affect you besides just like like decreased like memory, or decreased, like, just like thinking straight? Is there anything else that sugar can do to you?
Oh goodness, yes. There's a lot of evidence that, I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen some kids in your classes that are overweight, or friends or family, that have a little bit of extra weight they carry. That's result of sugar, and the diseases, the illnesses that it causes, the glucose part of the molecule and the fructose, but the glucose part of the molecule causes diabetes too, and fatty liver and high blood pressure, just a myriad of a whole bunch of different bad things in the body. And a lot of people just can't quit, guys. They try hard, and they've used sugar for many, many years to feel better. And then when they try and stop, they feel awful. They just feel bad. And so, yeah, there's a lot more science to it than people actually know. And that's kind of what we're doing with our little summit for the kids.
So, are there specific foods that will help us kids crave sugar less?
Yeah, absolutely. The healthy fats are good. The healthy fats are good. Avocados and olives and chicken thighs and legs. Um, beef or there's salmon is good. Um, like butter, these kinds of healthy fats will reduce the cravings for the sugar. It'll help and protein, to have a good protein, bacon and eggs breakfast. Bacon's good. Sugar-free bacon, by the way. It'll help you not like think about it so much, not think about sugar, not think about the cravings that you have. And it'll help repair those things that I talked about, the dopamine receptors, and help repair your brain a little bit, which has literally, you got to think about it this way. Like, I'm sure you've seen a path where like you're walking through a vacant lot or something and you kind of beat down the grass and now it's just a dirt path through the grass, right? Well, that's what happens in your brain when you do the sugar, okay? It literally grooves one of those little pathways in your brain. And so until you heal that or go around it or whatever, build new neuroplasticity, it's called, with the help of those fatty foods, you're going to keep wanting to crave the sugar so you can go down that well-worn path. So it's a good question. There's a lot of good foods out there that people can eat. A lot of people think, well, I'm going to be deprived. I won't be able to eat pizza or pasta or this, that, and the other. But yeah, there's a lot of good foods, and most of them are the healthy fats. So
Yeah, we have lots of we really basically use lots and lots and lots of alternatives.
yeah,
Yeah, and so basically, you're saying that if we eat other foods that don't have sugar that we like to eat, like meat or like nuts and other kind of stuff like that, then it'll help us get off the addiction of sugar.
excuse me. Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, some good nuts. Some of the nuts are good for you. Some of the nuts you have to be careful of because they have a lot of fructose in them. They're called drupes, drupes. You can look it up. Cashews, pecans, I think almonds too. But they're not really nuts. They're the seeds of fruits. A lot of people don't know that. It's pretty interesting, actually. But you have to go easy on those. And you can't really eat nut butters. Nut butters are like nature's candy. And dried fruit is kind of like that too. So you have to be careful there. But yeah, there's a lot of really healthy, tasty food that you can eat that'll help you keep away from the sugar.
Sugar is hiding everywhere. Where else is sugar hiding?
Would you believe there's sugar in ketchup?
Yes, we
Yeah.
actually read the ingredients of ketchup once and we found that out.
Yeah, right? Ketchup, it's just nuts. What else has sugar in it? Mayonnaise, right? Yeah, mayonnaise.
Oh, I like mayonnaise.
Most mayonnaise has sugar in it. What else?
I'm not
Like
even-
most soups, like that you buy out of the can, have sugar in them. A lot of condiments. Mustard's like the only one that doesn't have sugar in it. And I don't know if there might be some mustard now, but most of it doesn't have sugar in it. But yeah, the ones you wouldn't think. And here's the thing, like when they made low carb food and even bread has sugar in it, like it has flour too, but it has bread. Almost anything that, those are the numbers, 80+% of the things in a grocery store that come in a box or a bag or a can have sugar in it simply because it's a good stabilizer, it's a good preservative, and it makes it taste better when you take the fat out, right? So just a lot of stuff you just would not expect. And here's a more important part of it. There's over 50 names for sugar. Anything with an ose after it, like dextrose or sucrose or a lot of different names. And now there's some wild chemical ones that don't have even ose after it. These are barley malt. I could go on. There's hundreds. There's probably over 100, but there's definitely more than 50 different names for sugar. So when you're reading the labels, If it just says sugar, that's wonderful, but a lot of times it's hidden in these products. So got to be careful. Strange stuff. Very strange stuff.
So how much better is, say you want to have some sugar, how much better is cane sugar compared to like artificially made sugar, like, organic sugar and all this kind of stuff compared to artificial sugar?
Yeah, no, that's a one that comes up a lot. And the fake sweeteners, the fake stuff, the fake sweeteners, the fake like erythritol and monk fruit and stevia, these kind of things, they can be used sparingly, but when you keep the cravings for sweet alive, it doesn't allow your taste buds to readjust, and so you're always looking for more sugar. Basically, the brain doesn't know the difference sweet wise. It tastes or feels sweet, and it wants real sugar because real sugar is more powerful to act on the brain and the dopamine receptors and stuff. So the sweeteners are sometimes in the early days, especially trying to get off sugar, just as bad as the real sugar because it leads you to the real sugar. So, and then a lot of people, they want to have some sweetness in their whatever, their their lemonade or what have you. But please, for the first couple months, people should not have the sweeteners either.
So we use as our sweetener stevia. How do you feel about that?
If you're going to use stevia, try and use the actual leaf itself as opposed to the powdered stuff, right? And that'll help with your cravings for sugar. Now, you guys probably were not exposed to much sugar, and so you're not going to crave it as much. But say a young guy wants to have some, his mom wants him to stop using so much sugar. If you use too much stevia and you get that really sweet taste, you're going to start thinking for sugar. So stevia is not a bad product, but use it as close to nature as you possibly can. Like there's actually leaves instead of the powder stuff.
What about honey? Because we know that honey is really good for you, and the honey is a very a lot of people use honey as a substitute for sugar.
Yeah, no, good question. Honey is this is kind of coming to the forefront now because of the research on fructose and honey itself. And that's if you get real, organic, fresh honey. It's more than 50% fructose, meaning it's not like the table sugar molecule where half of it is glucose. Fructose in honey and like 90% of the stuff in the grocery store has some sort of high fructose corn syrup or fake sugars in it to make it sweeter. But even in its natural form, it's higher in fructose. So you have to, there's two different things, and you're asking two different questions. And for the folks that are listening who kind of understand that it's half of the, like, if you've already been exposed to sugar and you're trying to quit, it's easier not to have sweet stuff, even honey. But if you've never had sugar and you're trying, you want to have a healthier alternative, honey's not bad, stevia is not bad. So there's two different answers to the question, whether or not you had been exposed to sugar before or whether or not it's brand new to you.
So what are other ways us kids can avoid sugar?
Yeah, I think the best way to do it is what your mom and you guys are doing, which is just to be aware. Like one of the things that's exciting about you guys, and one of our other guests, Maria Emmerich, has her kids, is that we talk to you guys like adults in this case, right? And if you were to go out and have some sugar at a birthday party or whatever, likely it might give you a stomach ache, right? It might hurt your tummy or whatever. And so what we're trying to do is to just make you aware that this is happening, make you aware that the possibility exists that what everybody else thinks. And this is kind of hard for you guys. I mean, maybe easier for you guys because you guys got each other. But what happens is it's so, and I'm sure you've been through this, like in whatever school or with your playmates or whatever. Everybody's doing it. You ever hear this one? Everybody's doing it, right? So you don't want to be one of those persons if the everything is harming stuff. So it's good to have you guys together and a solid unit that you're fighting against what everybody else is doing at birthday parties and after soccer games. You know, they're drinking all the juice boxes and eating all the candy. You know, it's okay to say no, right? No is a full sentence and an acceptable answer if an adult or anyone offers you a sugary treat. And saying no sometimes, you don't want people to be upset, is kind of a hard thing to do. And maybe you've experienced it already. But, you know, learn how to say no and be graceful, be gracious, say no, thank you. We're going to have dinner in a little while or whatever. And just, you know, be polite about it. But learning to say no is an important thing. And it's hard. I mean, it's not easy sometimes. You want people to be happy. Like a lot of times someone will have baked a cake, right? And they'll want you to have some. They'll feel like they really want you to have a little because they made it for you or your family. But it's still okay to say no. And that's a lesson that you got to learn.
So, what is one thing that kids can start today to take steps away from sugar?
What is one of the things kids can take away one step away from sugar? Well, you know, always try not to go places hungry. Like, don't go around hungry. Basically, to try and eat before you go a good solid meal, where if you're going to go somewhere. Um, get good sleep. It's proven now that if you're well rested, you're not going to crave sugar. Drink a lot of good water, you know, quality water. I'm sure you have it at your house. Keep yourself hydrated, not sodas and whatever. And yeah, I mean, just eat well, be hydrated well. I don't think you guys got to worry about exercise. I think you probably have enough energy. You're running around all the time, but you know, always you keep that up, basically, you know, not
Yeah.
play and do that kind of stuff. But yeah, very important stuff. Very important.
Well, this was so amazing. And
So amazing. So amazing. So amazing.
so remember that in order
So
to
amazing.
get away
So
from
amazing.
sugar and avoid sugar a little bit more and crave it a little less, eat well, sleep well, and hydrate well. And
Yeah.
that's probably one of the best ways, the best tips that we can tell you, because it's good for everything, not just getting rid of sugar. It's good for your health. Just good. It'll make your life a lot better.
Yes. Yes. This has been wonderful, guys. Thank you so much.
Please tell us more about this summit.
Sure, thank you. The Sugar Free Kids Summit starts on May 1st. It's completely free. It runs from May 1st to May 7th online. All you have to do is just click the link that you see here in the show notes, and it'll take you right there, and just leave your email, and you'll be able to you know, sign up for it. We'll send you a schedule every day of who's speaking. Your mom's on it. A bunch of other great educators. They're going to teach you how to cook. A couple of really cool ladies are going to teach you how the kids cook, how you get in the kitchen with your mom. And a lot of professors are going to tell you real educated stuff, and you know, on you know, more in depth of the stuff I was telling you. But yeah, just click on the link in the show notes, or click where, you know, you see the little link there, and it'll take you right over there. So very cool.
Let's recap Mr. Collins' key point. I mean, that was so empowering. Everyone, make sure to check out his summit. He is such an inspiration. Thank you so much, Mr. Collins.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
So let's recap Mr. Collins' key points.
Refined added sugar has now infiltrated our lives. It is found in 85% of packaged foods, and sugar also negatively affects our brains and bodies. Bad bugs, or like the bad microbiome in our body thrive on sugar, and that's what they eat, leading to more and more bad bugs. When they increase, which then increases more sugar cravings. So sugar also drastically weakens our immune system, leading to inflammation, which makes you lead to weight gain and so many other problems. And it also affects our brain and our focus and also our behavior. When kids ingest sugar, it blocks their mental clarity and brain function, and they don't do good in school either. So when you crave sugar, it is actually the hit of dopamine in our brain that we're looking for. Sugar may cause you to feel a little bit happier for a short time, but then it makes you kind of dependent on that sugar and dependent on what it makes you feel.
It makes you miserable.
Right. Exactly.
So protein like chicken and salmon, healthy fats are a good way to decrease your cravings of sugar and will also help you repair your brain.
If you are also already exposed to sugar and trying to quit, having nothing that's really sweeter is a good option because if you haven't been exposed or you're not trying to get off a craving, stevia and honey are good treats.
It's important to be aware, and it is okay to say no to a sugary treat. And try not to places hung to go to places hungry. Eat one good solid meal, get good sleep, drink a lot of water will help you limit your cravings. We are sugar-free kids, and we feel amazing. You can too. It was all This all will make your life a lot better. We promise. Less miserable. So, thank
Thank
you.
thank you again, Mr. Collins.
Thank you, guys. It's been a pleasure. You guys did a great job. Thank you so much.
Remember, thank you everyone for tuning in. Until next time, I'm Zane Sorry.
I'm Dula.
And my name is Moth. Follow my family and I on social media, Holistic MD, and look out for my mom's book, The Holistic Arts, Your Guides in Chronic Inflammation and Disease, and the amazing children's book we wrote together called Adam's Healing Adventures. Gratitude is a superhero. Kids need to learn from other kids. Please download our podcast and iTunes and leave a review so other kids and families can benefit. We need to create a healthier future for all of us and the planet. Join us next week for another episode of the Holistic Kids Show, where kids are empowering kids. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.